but we're going to do it for everyone today. We've been going through. We're using Warren Sharp's little football preview. It's got all these stats, trends, just a bunch of goodies on here, and and we go through and we preview the upcoming season. One of the best things I like about this is talking about not a lot of people want to focus on the season about bye weeks and stuff like that. It's more so not about bye weeks, but rest advantage and rest disadvantage. And then, we've got a lot of historical trends to help us predict, why do some of these teams fall off so hard? And then can some team, like we covered the 49ers, can they bounce back from it? All that kind of stuff. A lot of good data in here, especially if you're a sports gambler. This is a good resource for you. And after I read through this yesterday, I think I'm going to be on Baltimore in week 1. I think Baltimore is, a 1.5 point favorite, or maybe the Bills are 1.5 point favorite. Either way, it's almost a pick 'em. There's damning stats in here about the Buffalo Bills that shows that Buffalo, and I know I said this last year, but it looks like Buffalo could regress a little bit. Doesn't mean they're not going to win their division, but I might be tempted to bet under 11.5 wins. But here we go. Sean McDermott's 8th year as head coach. He's on the hot seat too. They ended up giving him all these defensive pieces. This is the first time they spent their first 5 draft picks on the defensive side of the ball. The Bills have to. The Bills have to figure something out. And they're going to regress already defensively because the Bills had they were plus 28 in turnover differential on the season, which is historic. And if you look, we're going to get into the stats and data on it. If you look historically, teams that have a plus 28 following season, there's only been one team in NFL history that had at least 10 plus 10 in turnover differential the following season. So if you got to live and die by those turnovers, that's not great. Did the Bills window close? It might have, unless they piece something together. Here, it hasn't closed if McDermott can figure out the defense. Why has the Buffalo Bills struggled in the playoffs? Why? Why are they so great in the regular season yet can't even sniff the Super Bowl? Not even get there? It's because it's a defensive issue. We're going to look at Josh Allen's stats in the playoffs, they're really good. It's not because Josh Allen falls off. It's because the defense can't make adjustments. Sean McDermott has to do that. If he doesn't do that, he's probably canned this year. But here's their schedule. They open up against Baltimore. That's going to be great. But the good thing about the Bills, and the reason why I'm not immediately pulling the trigger on betting under on the Bills, all their toughest games are at home. Baltimore, home. Kansas City, home. Bengals, home. Eagles, home. They have the easiest road schedule in the league. They have the number 1 easiest road schedule in the league. Part of that's the division they play in. But look at that. They get Tampa Bay, home. So that's right, Mighty Megatron. Same with the Bengals. No defense. Offense can't get help from D. The offense needs Derek Lewis over there so they can get that help from the D. You know what I mean? The offense needs Derek Lewis on the defense, huh? All that. They open up against Baltimore here. I'm liking Baltimore in this one. And I'm not a huge Baltimore fan. I'm liking Baltimore here. Week 1. Really am. Okay. Then they have the Jets. And then Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. And then they play this poor Saints. They get the Saints at home, and they have a 3-day rest advantage. That's what I love about seeing these rest, disadvantage, and advantages. It really helps to show the edges that these guys have. Then they play the Patriots on Sunday Night Football, Week 5 at home. Then they go on the road and they play Hot Atlanta. Kirk Cousins and Hot Atlanta. I've been watching that quarterback thing. But here's the thing with this, and we might want to look at Atlanta in Week 6. Because the Bills are going to be playing Sunday Night Football against a division rival. Then they got to go on the road to a Monday Night Football game and have a 7-day rest disadvantage because the Falcons are going to be coming off their bye. Then it's week 7 bye. Then you got the Panthers, and they get a 6-day rest advantage. Then they get the Chiefs at home, and they got a 1-day rest advantage over the Chiefs. But then they turn around and have to go on the road down to Miami and play in Miami, and they have a 3-day rest disadvantage. Home against the Bucs. Then they play Thursday night football. Got a lot of primetime games. They got to play Thursday night football on the road. This is a rare where we don't see a division. I like this better, where we don't see the divisional opponents play each other on Thursday night football. They play Houston, down in Houston, obviously. And then they have a 3-day rest advantage when they have to go to Pittsburgh after that. Then they have a 3-day rest disadvantage when they host the Bengals. So although they get to play some of these home games, all these tough home games at home, the Bengals will have a 3-day rest advantage there. Then the Patriots will be coming off their bye. They're going to have a 6-day. The Patriots will have a 6-day rest advantage over the Bills in Foxborough. Patriots are catching 5.5 in that one, by the way. I'm thinking about betting it. Then they have to play Cleveland, and then they're home against the Eagles, but they have a 1-day rest disadvantage, and then they're home against the Jets. So they get to finish the season home. They play the Chiefs every year, it seems. Yeah, because the Bills are always the division winner, and they always play the other division winners. Plus, the NFL's not going to not have Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes play each other. Right? That's a ratings machine. I'm surprised. Week 9 there against Chiefs, that's not Sunday Night Football. Key players they lost: Amari Cooper, Von Miller, Rasul Douglas, Matt Collins. He went to the Patriots. What up? I'm excited. I was excited about that get. Austin Johnson, Khair Elam, and a bunch of other players. Key free agents that they added or traded for. They got Joey Bosa. How about that? Joey Bosa. Josh Palmer. That's interesting. They paid Josh Palmer $10 million. That's interesting. Michael Hoach. Larry Agunajubi. Tre'Davious White. Elijah Moore. Dane Jackson. Derek Forrest, and Kendrick Green. In the draft, they took in the first round a cornerback out of Kentucky to address some defensive needs. And then in the second round with the 41st pick, defensive tackle TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. Third round, they took a defensive end, Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. Fourth round, defensive tackle Deion Walker out of Kentucky. 2 Kentucky players here, huh? All the SEC. Look at this. They took a defensive player with their first 5 picks. First time in like 20 years they've done that, I think. And all of the first 4 were all from the SEC. And they took cornerback Jordan Hancock out of Ohio State. Grass guy says, I need this book. Yeah, I ended up ordering it online too. I'm hoping it gets here before I leave so I can take it with me on the road. But let me see if it's still on sale. Yesterday it was on sale. It's normally $100. It was like $61 or something like that. We'll see if it's still on sale. You can get the digital version of this at Warren Sharp's website for $30. Yes. Look at this. You can still get this. I don't know for how long. But usually ships within 8 days. They told me it was going to be here by told me it was going to be here sooner than that. Maybe I got to go back and check what it said. I thought it said it was going to be here this Tuesday, the 15th. But it's discounted right now, $61.43. Worth every penny, in my opinion. In the last 5 seasons, only 2 teams have exceeded 55 regular season wins: the Chiefs and the Bills. Regular season wins are fine if they lead to better seedings and playoff success, despite the Chiefs and Bills both leading in NFL in total wins over the last 5 seasons and each making the playoffs in all 5 seasons. The Bills lag behind in playoff success. In the playoffs, the Chiefs have 4 conference championships and 2 Super Bowls. Meanwhile, the Bills have 0 conference championships and 0 Super Bowls. It's not so simple to suggest the Bills are great in the regular season and bad in the playoffs. In fact, playoffs over the last 5 years, the Bills have 12 games played, second most in the NFL, and 7 wins, second most in the NFL. Beyond that, they actually have a winning record in the playoffs, 12 games, 7 wins, 5 losses. So what's going on? There are only 6 other teams with a winning record in the playoffs over the last 5 years, and all of them have at least one conference championship victory and a Super Bowl appearance to show for it. Chiefs, Rams, Eagles, Bucks, Bengals, 49ers, but not the Bills. You cannot blame Josh Allen's overall performance as the reason they cannot seem to accomplish their goals of making it and winning the Super Bowl. If you look at the 24 quarterbacks with at least 50 playoff pass attempts since 2020, Allen's is the number one most efficient quarterback in the playoffs. Number one in EPA per play, number one in success rate. We know how badly turnovers affect the game, particularly in the postseason. That hasn't been the issue for Allen either. He's the number one best QB for TD to interception ratio in the postseason over the last 5 years. He has thrown 25 playoff touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. That's a 6.3 rate. That's good. In their 5 playoff losses, the Bills have averaged 24.6 points per game, which is not only above the scoring average in the playoffs for all teams, but is substantially above the scoring average for teams that lose playoff games. They're scoring damn near 25 points and still losing. What does that tell you? That tells you it's a defensive issue. Defensive issue. In fact, the Bills averaged 24.6 points per game in playoff losses over the last 5 years. I always think of just the heartbreaker that happened, that 13 seconds left. They lost to the Chiefs. That one. Opponents scored an average of 33.2 points in Buffalo's 5 playoff losses over that span. 33.2. This is not a Josh Allen issue. He's not turning the ball over, and he's not being inefficient. In fact, he's being the most efficient. It's a defensive issue. Sean McDermott needs to figure it out. Or he's gone. And I like Sean McDermott, but you're gone. You drafted 5 defensive players this year, all right? You signed some key defensive guys. You got Joey Bosa on your team now. It's time to figure something out, Sean. And it's hard dependent on Allen. In the 5 losses, he averaged plus 0.014 EPA per play and a 51.2% success rate, which is number 1. You can't get better than number 1. But you know what you can do, Josh? You know what you can do, Josh? You can go out there and win it for your team. How about that? Right? Who cares if the rest of your team sucks and you're balling out? Do a little bit more. Throw another touchdown pass. Go out there and play cornerback if you need to. All right? Do whatever it takes. Play both sides of the ball if that's what it takes. Imagine Josh Allen as a middle linebacker just stuffing the run. That'd be interesting. Look at their road lines. They have the easiest road schedule. They're an average minus. Sorry, let me say this right. They're on average a 5.9 favorite on the road. So think about it. They're damn near a 6-point favorite on the road average throughout the season. That's insane. 8.5, 5.5, 7, 5.5, 3.5, 4.5, 4.5, 8.5. Just insane. In those losses, he has thrown 9 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. He's also added 3 rushing touchdowns. His 2.4 total touchdowns per game ranked number 2 best in the playoffs for losing quarterbacks. Avoiding sacks is also critical, and Allen's 4.3% sack rate ranks 5th best. Let's compare Allen's performance in playoff losses to Patrick Mahomes and his 3 losses over 5 years. God, that's gross. Allen is number 1 in EPA, number 2 in EPA per dropback. Mahomes ranks 15th and 18th, respectively, in those. That's because Mahomes has a defense. In Allen's 5 losses, he has a 9-2 touchdown to interception ratio. Mahomes has a 6-6. Oh, I love this. I love this. It's my favorite part. Here's the argument on why you should bet under 11.5 wins for the Bills in the 2025 season. The Bills had 18.1 more offensive touchdowns than expected last year, which could mean they're set to decline in 2025. Josh Allen was the heart and soul of the offense. With lackluster talent at receiver position, he did pretty much everything for this team. If his play declines even a little bit, be bad news for the Bills, or God forbid he gets injured. Right? But it's football. We don't wish injury on any player, but it's football. We have to be real. Injuries happen. Bills have had relatively great injury luck in 2024, which can contribute to their success. The offensive line, in particular, was the second healthiest in the league. The entirety of the starting offensive line was together on the field for 79.1% of their snaps, and it led to a top 5 pass block win rate. If the injury bug visits Buffalo next season, they likely won't produce similar results. The Bills have a great schedule of opponents, but they also have a bottom 5 schedule of rest advantage. Short weeks can take a toll on teams, leading to poor performance or worse, injuries. The Bills have 2 divisional games in just 4 days apart in September, and a similar stint with the Buccaneers and the Texans in November. I'm telling you that's this rest advantage and disadvantage is key, especially if you look last year. The Bills had a lot of rest; they had a huge rest advantage. Now they're at a rest disadvantage. Not great. But here's the argument why you should bet over 11.5 wins for the 2025 Buffalo Bills. The Bills were gifted another easy schedule of opponents next season, partly due to poor AFC East pool. Outside of their division, they will face some layups against the Saints, Panthers, and Browns. It is hard to imagine Buffalo doing anything but dominating in these games as they did last season. They will likely take another divisional crown. Buffalo prioritized defensive free agency with lots of great signings. Buffalo added Larry Ogunjobi, Joey Bosa, and Michael Hoich to their defensive line. This will add depth to a somewhat lacking unit that ranked below average in sacks and pressure. In the secondary, the Bills reunited with Tre'Davious White and Dane Jackson. This team has been consistent as they come with this team has been as consistent as they come with Josh Allen at quarterback. The Bills and Chiefs are the only teams with more than 55 regular season wins over the last 5 seasons. Buffalo has won 61 games over that span, winning at least 11 games in every season. But they need to get to 12. They need to get to 12. Imagine we had a year. How crazy would it be if we had the Bills and the Chiefs both miss the playoffs this season? That'd be wild. And yet the only statistic that matters for the Bills is 0. That's the number of Super Bowl wins in the last 5 years. Even worse, that's the number of AFC championships in the last 5 playoff trips. I don't want to be the first to point the finger at himself for things he could have done better in each playoff loss, and he hasn't been perfect. But at the end of the day, given these statistics and this analysis, it's hard to look at the Bills and think they can get over the hump in the playoffs if only Allen would play better. With this team, their playoff futility is not on the quarterback. So if it's not on the quarterback, who bears the blame for the Bills failing mightily when it matters most and not bringing home an AFC championship or Super Bowls the last 5 seasons, despite recording the number 2 most regular season wins and number 2 most playoff wins? And an even bigger question, what are they changing to get over the hump in 2025? Well, let's take a look. Unfortunately, the answer might be not enough, particularly when you look at this next analysis. As mentioned earlier, the defense has surrendered an average 33.2 points per game in their 5 playoff losses over the last 5 years. When the average winning playoff team scores 30.2 points per game, your defense is surrendering a full 3 points per game more in these games. It's probably not a positive sign. If you were rushing in to defend Buffalo's defense, you might argue that they played the Chiefs in 4 of those 5 losses. So it's natural to surrender more to such a good offense. But consider this, in the 4 years they met in the playoffs, the Chiefs scored more points against the Bills than they did against any other defense. Last year, they scored 32 points against Buffalo. I was there with Cole. Sorry, Cole. We watched that one at the bar. Not great. Good nachos, though. Those were good nachos. Not great for the Bills, though. Against everyone else that year in the playoffs, they only scored 22.5 points per game. In 2023, they scored 27 points against Buffalo, only 22.7 against everyone else. In 21, they scored 42 points against Buffalo, 33 points against everyone else. In 2020, 38 points against Buffalo, 15.5 against everyone else. They just have the Bills' number. Can we just chalk that up? Andy Reid knows how to pick apart Sean McDermott's defense. Maybe that's it. This is why Sean McDermott's got to do something, huh? You got to do something. Look at all these graphs, stats, charts. If you're a data nerd, you're gonna love this. You need to go get you a copy of this over at Warren Sharp's website. I'm telling you. What more can Josh Allen do? I don't know. Maybe be perfect. Have a perfect game. Don't have an incompletion. Score on every drive. How about that? Get out there and play defense. Right? Take matters into your own hands, Josh. Paying you $250 million. Go play free safety. It's the least you can do for your team. I'm kidding. Who's to blame? The answer is Sean McDermott. He has to fix this. It's McDermott's side of the ball that is letting Allen's offensive down. You must coach and scheme better defense in the playoffs. If you can't do that, you must get better players. It seems like McDermott realizes he's incapable of the first order priority and has moved to the next logical pursuit of getting better players. Bills signed 5 players in free agency who have an average salary of $3 million or more. 4 of 5 were defensive players. The Bills drafted 5 players through pick 170 in the NFL draft. All 5 were defensive players. 4 of those out of the SEC. This is the first time in McDermott era that the Bills used their first 5 draft picks on the side of the ball. First time in 20 years the Bills have used their first 5 picks on the defensive side of the ball. Bills have rotated offensive coordinators. Doesn't matter. They still win double-digit games thanks to Allen. If McDermott can't get it done with this massive influx of defensive talent, it's time for him to go. Because from a health perspective, it's hard for the Bills' offense to improve at all. It's almost guaranteed to regress. Each week 1 starter played 900 snaps, and only right tackle Spencer Brown missed 1 game. The rest of their week 1 starters played the entire season. This is what has me scared about the Bills. Not scared, but makes me want to bet the under. That was just very fortunate luck last year. Once again, we don't wish injuries on anyone, but it's football. Injuries happen. Look at the Niners last year. Another thing that won't improve in 2025 is the turnover differential. This is key right here. This is huge. Massive. The Bills finished plus 28 in turnover differential. That sounds like a lot. It is. To put it in context, there have been just 3 teams with larger turnover margins since 2000. They were all in the years between 2010 and 2012 timeframe. So it's been 12 years, because it's going back to last season. It's been 12 years since we've seen it happen. When opposing offenses were pushing the ball deeper downfield on passes, interceptions were more frequent. With reduced average passing distance, interceptions have become rarer. In those seasons, the average air yards per attempt was in the 8.6 to 8.7 range. These last 3 years, for example, the average has been a full yard shorter, 7.7 air yards per attempt. And we've seen that. There's a lot more dink and dunks, right? High percentage passes, longer drives, eat up clock. That makes sense. As such, the interception rate dropped to a minuscule 2.2% this past year, which is the lowest it has been in modern NFL history. This is part of the reason why no teams have seen a turnover margin near plus 24 in decades. There have been 9 NFL teams with a plus 21 turnover margin or better since 2000. Skip through some of this stuff. Oh, there's fantasy advice. We'll get back to that, but I want to continue on this topic. He throws in this stuff in here. Bills have the 5th easiest schedule, by the way. These occurred in 2005, 7, 9, 10, twice in 11, 12, and then 24. For more context, the best turnover margin by year over the last 5 years. The Bills with 24 last year, and then look at it. The year before, it was plus 12. They doubled that up. They had double the amount of turnovers than any team did in 2023. That's crazy. None of these seasons were close to the 24 Bills. And for the final piece of context, let's look at the Bills' own turnover margin since 2020. In 2020, they had +4, 21, +8, 22, even, 23, +2. Last year, +24. Huge. What do you think is likely going to happen this year? They're probably going to have less than +10. Fortunately for Bill fans, expecting anywhere close to +24 margin in 25 would be foolish. That's a very bad thing. There have been 14 teams to record +20 turnover margins or better since 2000. Those teams won on an average of 12.5 games, recording an average record of 12.5 to 3.5. Because winning the turnover battle is the number one largest predictor of wins and losses in the NFL. But the season after recording such tremendous turnover margins, they fall back to earth. Their average turnover margin the following year dropped from +23 to +5. With only one team even exceeding +10. And their win-loss margin fell the following season a full 3 wins. From 12.5 to 9.6. Crazy. Next, let's examine the last decade and expand our criteria. In a season of positive turnover margin, which is defined as +10 or larger, average turnover margin +12.5, average wins 11, average. Well, we don't really care about the record, care about wins. The following season for those teams, average turnover margin +2.3, average wins 9.2. Really is making me want to bet the under on the Bills. Those stats plus the historical Bills stats and that show their turnover margin in the 2 prior years was just +2 and dead even. I mean, it is extremely likely the Bills will have to win without the aid of massively lopsided positive turnover margins. Last year, Bills defense showed major regression but was completely bailed out by turnovers. After ranking 16th and allowing just 27% of drives to reach the red zone in 23, the Bills ranked 30th and allowing 30% of drives to reach the red zone. They also dropped from number 10 in yards per drive allowed in 23 to number 24 in 2004 or 2024. Here's a crazy one. In 23, the Bills had the 9th highest rate of punts forced per drive. Last year, 31st. They were almost dead last. But what saved them is they ranked number 1 and with 18% of opponents' drives ending in turnovers. That is crazy. The Bills last year were the first defense since at least 2000 to be so bad to allow at least 35% of opponent drives to reach their red zone while also generating turnovers on at least 16% of opponents' drives. That's not repeatable. That is not repeatable. Warren Sharp talks about play action here with them. I've been begging the Bills to use more play action. I did so in 2023 preview and 24 preview. And I'm doing the same. He's doing the same this year. On early downs, the Bills use 3 or more wide receivers 54% of the plays and 2 or fewer on 46% of plays. Their usage of 2 or fewer wide receivers is the 10th highest in the NFL. Allen is outstanding when using play action for 2 or fewer wide receivers on the field and nearly doubles his EPA per attempt when passing with play action. With play action, he has a 0.45 EPA, which is number 3, 59% success rate, which is number 6, and 10.4 yards per attempt. And that's due in part because Allen is also such a run threat, you know? Let's see. In 23, Allen completed 73% of these passes, but dropped down to 61%, which ranks number 40th last year. God, these stats are just amazing. So there's no reason a top 5 passing offense on second, third down should rank 30th or worse on first down like Buffalo did last year. Offensive coordinator Joe Brady must improve their intentions with first down passing and figure out a way to start off each set of downs with positive pass play when they drop back. Bills are in unfamiliar territory as they finished first place in the AFC East, but still have the 5th easiest schedule based on wins. That said, It's a great schedule of opponents. It's tough as it relates to rest. Buffalo slips from the 8th easiest rest edge last year to the 4th toughest this year. That's insane. Since 2020, only Chiefs have won more games than the Bills. They have won 74% of their games, and Buffalo has the number 6 best rate of covering spreads. But even as a team as great as the Bills isn't immune to rest disadvantage. Since 2020, the Bills are 11-7, 61% with less rest than their opponent, including 9-9 ATS. In 2025, the Bills were given the NFL's number 4 worst schedule based on net rest. There are negative 7 days of net rest having they're at negative 7 days net rest, having 5 games at a rest disadvantage compared to 4 games at a rest advantage. This is the first time since 2015 the Bills will have a net rest edge worse than -4. So the first time in Josh Allen's career. In fact, from 2016 to last year, the Bills had the 3rd best overall net rest edge, averaging +4 per season. The Bills play 5 teams who have over 7 days to prepare for them, the number 2 most in the NFL this year behind the Raiders. And they play 5 games with less rest than their opponents, which is likewise the number 2 most in the NFL. Most of their games with less rest occur later in the year when rest matters. That's a good point too. From week 10 through 18, the Bills play 4 games at a rest disadvantage and just 1 game at a rest advantage. So late in the season, maybe we look to fade the Bills. The positive for the Bills schedule is less about rest and more about overall ease, which is the 5th easiest, and location for their tough games. Their 4 toughest opponents will play in Buffalo. We talked about that: Baltimore, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, and Tampa Bay. With all those difficult games at home, the Bills' road schedule is the easiest in the NFL. Bills head into 25 with an undeniable sense of urgency. They won more games than almost anyone over the past 5 years, and their quarterback has played at an elite level, especially in the postseason. Yet the same road blocks remain: no Super Bowl appearances, no AFC titles, and the recurring theme of the defense collapsing when it matters most. This offseason, the Bills clearly recognize that reality, pouring both draft and free agency resources into rebuilding that side of the ball. Those additions can help the defense hold up when games matter most. Buffalo might be able to finally clear that last hurdle. But if they can't, and if Josh Allen once again has to carry the entire team, the frustration will only deepen. There are also regression factors that can't be ignored. The Bills last year rode unsustainable turnover fortune and historic offensive health to 13 wins. Both are likely to regress this year. Combined with the rest disadvantage, heavy second half of the season, and the path back to the high seed, the path back to the high seed in the AFC could be harder than it looks on paper. Ultimately, if the defense improves meaningfully and Allen plays as we know he can, the Bills are strong contenders in 25. I'm going to bet no. I think I'm going to bet the under. They basically have to play perfect and hope everything bounces their way. Highly unlikely that happens, even as great as Josh Allen is. But there you go. There's the 2025 Buffalo Bills NFL preseason breakdown. Like I said, go get a copy of this Warren Sharp's page. It's great, a great tool. I'll be using this betting throughout the season, of course.